All right, welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're going to be tackling something pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to be tackling marriage,
Oh, yeah.
but with a bit of a twist.
Uh-oh.
So, marriage in the age of social media.
Okay.
And our source material today is this fascinating piece called Wisdom on Marriage Beyond the Glitter of Social Media.
Go.
And the author here, I'm not sure if we know too much about this author, but they seem to be kind of like maybe a wise elder kind of giving advice to younger generations about, what marriage really is all about, kind of going beyond, what we see on the gram, you know?
Appearances, right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cute.
So how much of this like online glitz and glam,
Right.
how much of that really reflects reality?
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be diving into today.
I love it.
Yeah, so right off the bat, the author starts out with this analogy that I thought was really, really striking.
Done.
It's the analogy of a gold-plated object. So you have this object, and it may look all shiny,
Right, yeah.
all expensive, right? But, the true value is only skin deep.
I see.
And the author's saying that's kind of like these seemingly flawless couples we see online.
Oh, okay.
It's like, are they really all that perfect? Or is
Yeah.
there something else going on beneath the surface?
Yeah. I mean, social media can be so misleading, can't it?
Totally, yeah.
You only see what people want you to see.
Yeah, you're totally right.
And it's so curated.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's easy to get caught up in that.
Yeah, and then the author goes on
Okay.
to give some real-world examples of this.
Okay.
Like the high-profile divorces, people like Bill and Melinda Gates or Tiger Woods. And it's like these are cases that involve
Right.
immense wealth and success,
Yeah.
things that we often, in our culture anyway, kind of equate with happiness
Right.
and
Yeah.
stability, right?
Huh.
But yet you see these marriages crumbling.
Yeah. It's kind of a reality check, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
Money and fame doesn't buy you happiness.
Yeah. Yeah, and the author kind of takes this even a step further and dives into this
Okay.
pretty pointed critique of polygamy.
Okay.
And they argue that these types of relationships can often foster unequal power dynamics.
Interesting.
It can often lead to a situation where one person's needs and desires are prioritized above others.
Right. Yeah.
And this can have significant psychological consequences, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you think about it,
Yeah.
like if you're constantly feeling like you're not enough,
Right.
or your needs aren't being met, or
Yeah.
you're not getting that validation or the attention that you deserve, it can really do a number on your self-esteem,
Right.
on your sense of worth.
Exactly, yeah. And the author even goes so far as to say that, some polygamous relationships can even be, downright exploitative, especially when there are big age gaps,
Right.
and you've got one partner who's seeking, youth and beauty,
Right.
while the other is after wealth or security.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like it becomes a business transaction,
Right.
more than a loving partnership.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good point. It makes you think about what are we
Yeah.
really looking for in relationships?
Totally.
Are we looking for genuine love and connection, or are
Mhm.
we drawn to something else?
That's a great question. Yeah, and the author continues this idea
Okay.
by using this really, really vivid analogy
Okay.
of a volleyball team.
Oh, wow.
So imagine a young woman joining a volleyball team where there are already 5 experienced players there. And the author's point is that, adding more partners to a marriage doesn't necessarily
Right.
lead to more love or fulfillment.
Yeah.
It can actually, increase the complexity and the potential for conflict.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to juggle 5 relationships at once.
Right.
Someone's bound to get dropped.
Yeah, jealousy, competition, unmet needs,
Exactly.
all of that gets amplified, I imagine.
Totally, yeah. So we've gone from appearances being deceiving
Right.
to the potential pitfalls of polygamy and multiple relationships. And now the author kind of takes us in a slightly different direction.
Oh, interesting.
Almost a philosophical direction.
Okay.
They introduce this concept of a divine blueprint for marriage.
A divine blueprint.
Yeah, and they compare it to a machine
Okay.
with an instruction manual. They believe there's a preset design for marriage.
Oh, okay.
And if you deviate from that, if you opt for polygamy,
Uh-huh.
that inevitably leads to breakdowns and dysfunction.
Like you're going against the natural order of things.
Yeah, it's almost like saying there are these like universal rules for a successful marriage.
Okay, so if you stray from the blueprint,
Yeah,
you're setting yourself up for trouble.
exactly. And I don't know, what do you think about that?
I mean, it's kind of a thought-provoking idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, is there really a
Mhm.
one-size-fits-all approach to marriage?
Yeah.
Does it vary across cultures,
Hmm.
across religions?
Right.
What about individual choices and freedom?
Yeah, totally, totally.
It definitely raises a lot of questions.
It really does. And then it gets even more interesting
Oh,
because the author introduces us to a real life example to kind of illustrate this point.
okay.
And that's the story of Regina.
Regina, okay.
Yeah, and it's really a fascinating case study of how, like, the carefully curated image we often see online
Right.
can be so drastically different from the reality
Uh-huh.
behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, we only get these, like, little snippets into her life, right?
Right.
Through social media.
Yeah.
But even those can tell us a lot.
Totally. And she's in a polygamous marriage,
Okay.
but things are clearly not as picture perfect
Right.
as they might seem.
Mm-hmm.
We see her taking these actions like removing her husband's name from her profile,
Oh, wow.
deleting photos, posting these cryptic messages.
Like she's trying to tell us something.
Yeah. It's almost
But not directly.
Yeah.
Like reading between the lines.
Right. And it's such a contrast to that image of, marital bliss that we often see projected on social media.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear more
Okay, yeah.
about Regina's story.
We'll definitely dive more into that. Yeah, it really makes you wonder, like, what's going on
Right.
beneath the surface.
Yeah, is she trying to like send a message, or is it a cry for help?
Right.
I mean, that's the thing with social media, isn't it? It allows us to present this like very specific version of ourselves, often a very like idealized version.
Right.
But it can also be this platform
Okay.
for like these subtle forms of communication, like
Interesting.
these hints and whispers that you might not be able to say directly.
I see. Yeah.
So
maybe she's using it to kind of like test the waters. See what people think.
gauge public opinion,
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
even like signal her discontent
Oh, okay.
to her husband.
Yeah. Interesting. Like a very public form of
Right.
couples therapy almost.
Yeah.
That's being played out in front of all of her followers.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what I find particularly fascinating is that despite all of this, these apparent struggles,
Right.
the author thinks that Regina might actually choose to stay in the marriage.
Wow, that's interesting. Why do they think that?
Well, they talk about this allure of comfort.
Yeah.
It's like leaving a relationship,
Right.
especially one that offers a certain level of like financial security, social standing.
Yeah.
That can be really, really daunting.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
it's easy to look from the outside and say,
right.
just leave.
Yeah.
This clearly isn't working, but
Right.
there's often so much more to it, isn't there? There are
Totally.
these emotional factors,
Yes.
financial factors. It's complicated.
Yeah, and the author even brings up like, she might be facing pressure from her community
Oh,
or
okay.
her social circle to stay in this marriage.
Right, like there's this societal expectation,
Yeah.
especially within certain cultures or religious groups, that divorce is a failure.
Right, exactly. And it's like we often
Yeah.
define our worth and success based on these external factors, like relationship status.
Right, like we need to have that check mark next to
Yeah.
married to be seen as
Yeah.
successful.
Exactly, and it's so hard to break free from those expectations,
It is. It takes a lot of courage to
Yeah.
prioritize your own well-being
Right.
and happiness, even if it means going against the grain.
Totally. And it really makes you wonder how many people are out there, staying in these relationships that aren't truly serving them just because they're afraid.
Right. Afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
Afraid of what people might think.
Yeah.
It's a sad thought, really.
It really is. And it highlights like how important it is to create this culture where people feel supported,
Yes.
to make choices that are right for them.
Absolutely, regardless of those external pressures.
Totally. But going back to Regina's story for a second, the author brings up another really, really interesting point about about what happens after
Yep.
these high-profile breakups.
Right.
You know, when things go wrong in these very, very public relationships, the author talks about how, like, often the support systems
Okay.
kind of disappear.
Oh, wow.
You know, friends and family might distance themselves,
Got it.
you know, claiming that they warned the person all along.
Oh, I see. So it's like
Yeah,
they only want to be associated with the success, not
Yeah.
with the messiness of a breakup.
exactly. Yeah, and there's this fear of being tainted by association.
Yeah, interesting. It's like
Yeah.
this need to protect
Yeah.
our own image, you know?
Totally. And it can be so isolating
Yeah.
for the person going through the breakup.
Absolutely. You're already dealing with the
Yeah.
emotional turmoil of the relationship ending.
Right.
And then you have this added layer of social rejection.
Right.
It's tough.
It's really tough, and it just makes you realize, like,
Yeah.
we need to be more compassionate,
Absolutely.
more understanding.
Yes. Both towards ourselves
Yeah.
and towards others,
Yeah.
especially during those times of
Right.
vulnerability and transition.
Yeah. So we've talked about a lot here.
We have.
We've seen how social media can distort our perceptions.
Right.
The complex power dynamics in these polygamous marriages,
Uh-huh.
the allure of comfort,
Yeah.
the pressure to conform.
The social pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the isolation that
Yeah.
can come with these breakups.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
But through it all, I think the author is really
Yeah.
urging us to kind of look beyond
Yeah.
the superficial
Right.
and to focus on what really matters.
What truly matters.
Yes, it's about, defining success on our own terms, not
Yeah.
based on someone else's standards or what we see on
Right.
social media.
Totally.
It's about, that
Oh.
inner peace
Yeah.
and fulfillment, regardless of the
Mhm.
external validation
Right.
or the material possessions.
It's a powerful message, right?
It is.
Like, it's so easy to get caught up in the comparison game,
Yeah.
especially with social media, always in our faces.
Oh, totally.
Like, we're just bombarded with these
Right.
images of, like, these seemingly perfect lives and relationships.
And it's important to remember
Yeah.
that those images are often just so
Yeah.
carefully crafted and filtered.
Right.
Yeah, they don't reflect
Yeah.
the full reality
Right.
of those relationships.
Yeah.
The challenges, the
Yeah.
compromises, the struggles.
The nitty-gritty.
Yeah, the everyday stuff that we all go through.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel like the author's kind of saying, like,
Yeah.
true wisdom comes from,
Yeah.
like, learning from other people's experiences,
Right.
recognizing those pitfalls, and then choosing a
Right.
different path.
Yeah, like learn from the mistakes of others.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, and they even say, like, share this message
Okay.
with other people,
Yeah.
so that the next generation doesn't make those same mistakes.
It's beautiful,
Yeah.
That idea of mentorship and
Yeah.
intergenerational dialogue.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to figure it all out
Yeah.
on our own.
Right.
No.
It made me think about, like, my own
Yep.
experiences with social media and relationships.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever felt like you were being misled by the glitter of it all?
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all been there
Yeah.
at some point,
Right.
It's so easy to get
Yeah.
caught up in those
Yeah.
carefully constructed narratives and those
Yeah.
picture-perfect moments that
Yeah.
we see online.
Right.
And it's so easy to forget that
Yeah.
everybody is on their own journey, right?
Sure.
Facing their own unique challenges.
Yeah.
And what might look like a dream relationship
Right.
from the outside
Yeah.
could be anything but.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
We need to focus on cultivating our own happiness.
Our own authentic happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not trying to live up to.
Right, not based on
Yeah.
someone else's
Yeah.
idealized version of a relationship.
Right. Exactly. So it kind of brings us back to, like, this central question that the author poses.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how can we make wise choices in relationships?
Right.
Looking beyond the superficial to
Yeah.
find, like, lasting happiness and peace of mind.
Yeah, that's the $1,000,000 question, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. And I think it takes being introspective, like
Absolutely.
examining our own
Yeah.
value
Yeah.
and priorities.
Like what we really want.
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
partner.
What are our non-negotiables?
Yeah. And are
Yeah.
we willing to put in the
Oh my
effort
God.
and the commitment
Yeah,
that a healthy relationship requires?
totally. And it's about, being honest with ourselves and being honest with our partners
Right.
and recognizing that,
Yeah.
Needs and desires might change over time.
Oh, for sure.
You know, what might have been super important to us in our 20s could be totally different in our 30s or 40s.
Exactly. Relationships aren't static, are they?
No.
They're constantly evolving and growing.
Yeah.
Just like we are.
Right. It's like finding someone who can grow alongside you.
Yeah.
You know, support you.
Support our evolution,
Yeah. So, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of left with this feeling of hope and empowerment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the author has really challenged us to think critically
to question those societal norms.
Yeah.
You know,
to prioritize
our own
well-being.
Yeah, well-being.
Yeah.
And remember that, like, true happiness comes from within.
You know, not from external validation.
Yeah, not from those or things.
Material possession.
Yeah, totally. So I think that's a great note to end on.
It is.
So we want to hear from you guys.
Yes.
Have you ever been misled by the glitter of social media? What are your biggest takeaways about marriage and relationships in this digital age?
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know in the comments below.
In the comments.
And until next time.
Yeah.
Keep diving deep.